Gospel. I'm not sure about you, but I'm tired of sinning. And it's frustrating when I find myself giving in to a temptation that I've seen before, not just a new one. So why is it that we give in? Ever? We know that it's not healthy. We know that it will lead us away from God. We know that it will send us down the primrose path to hell. And yet, we capitulate. We give in. Why? Jesus didn't. We hear about that in the gospel today. He was tempted mightily. It wasn't as though Satan came in and showed him a couple things. It was some M&Ms, new TV, a new car. Jesus did not sin. We know that by faith. He was God. He was also a human being, so he was tempted. He felt the tension. When Satan was tempting him, Jesus felt the draw toward that. It wasn't as though Satan tempted him and Jesus, because he was God, didn't even have the thought possible, and it never entered his mind at all. It wouldn't have been a temptation otherwise. It was a temptation. His flesh yearned for what Satan was offering him. And yet, because he's God, he was able to withstand the temptation and not enter into the possibility of sin. He didn't mull it over, think about it, ponder it, think, that might be kind of good. He didn't sin. So what's the difference between him and us? Obviously, he's God. And we're not. One of the things that helps me in processing through accepting myself after I've given into sin, not just saying, God, forgive me. We need to do that. But to accept ourselves and go on with life and try again. Why did I fall again? And we beat ourselves up. Why? Because the temptation is attractive. We can see that sin, in its attraction, is partly good. That's why it's attractive. That might seem like obvious to some, but to most, it's kind of an aha moment. It's not as though we're being offered a mud pie. We're being offered an apple pie with a little bit of mud swirled around in there. Or maybe it's a little bit of apple swirled in with the mud, but the point is that we notice the apple. That would be pretty good. But the mud, an apple won't taste very good, kind of gritty, and it won't taste good, and maybe it's not good for you, but the apple looks really good. So maybe I'll just be okay if I do this anyways. It's not the best thing. It's not mom's apple pie, but it's apple and pie shaped, so maybe it'll be okay. We kind of start justifying it and reasoning through it. And before you know it, we've given it a big old slice. Ugh. Afterward, we realize, why did I do that? That was horrible. I feel sick to my stomach. Then for a while, we think, I don't want to eat anything. But then the Lord helps us to work through that, to see through the reality of our brokenness and our short-sightedness, that was the reason why we sinned. We didn't ask him for help. We depended on our own ability to see and to understand, and that's why we sinned. In the first reading, we have a hint of that. What was it that Adam and Eve did that was so bad? Where were they living again? Martinsburg? No. They were living in the Garden of Eden, the perfect no problems, zero problem place. It had just been created. It's brand spanking new. Everything there is fantastic. Not okay, not passable, but wow, everywhere you looked. And one little thing, God says, you have run of the place. Enjoy yourselves. But one thing, don't eat of that tree. Now, why did God put some kind of poisonous tree in the middle of the Garden of Eden? That doesn't make any sense. Because he didn't. He didn't put a poisonous tree in the middle of the Garden of Eden and then tell them not to eat it. There has to be some other subtext there that we don't appreciate. That being that God was saying to them, don't eat that yet. I'll show you when to eat it. I'll give you the time and the place. I'll feed it to you as you need it. I will give you what you need to understand how things work. Because after all, even though they hadn't sinned yet, they still weren't infinite. They hadn't sinned, but they couldn't possibly know everything. And so having a bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. You've heard that before. I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. I don't want that guy operating on me. A little bit of information. I've got a little bit of information about the human person. I know my heart's right around here somewhere, and the brain in here, and eyes, but I have the foggiest notion where to start if I had to do an operation on somebody. You don't want me doing that stuff. So that's what we have to understand about this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That the fruit of that was something that the Lord would have to give them according to his plan. And they went outside of that, took for themselves knowledge. They decided what was good or evil. And that's what began this snowball effect. To know what is right and wrong, and then to carry it out or to avoid it. That's what we need. That's the fruit that we need. And that is always good. So do we go and take it for ourselves? Do we decide for ourselves what's good and what's bad? That's what got Adam and Eve in such hot water. We need to ask God, Lord, help me to see what I need. Help me to accept from you everything that you want to give me as good, and help me to wait for everything else with patience. If I never get what it is that I want, you've decided in your wisdom, Lord, that I don't need, help me to let go of it. Easier said than done. As we end up again in this first week of Lent, saying, Lord, here I am again. In some ways, I don't think I've gone very far down the road. I feel like I'm stagnant. Might have even gone backwards. Help me, Lord, to know what is right and wrong, and to do what is right and to avoid what is wrong. I cannot do it, Lord, without you. Those things that Jesus was offered, Satan calls him up. Look, good stuff here. You have the power to make bread out of nothing. That'd be kind of handy. Never have to go to the grocery store. Just eat. And Jesus says, that's not all I need. I don't just need something to fill my belly. Oh, well, what about this? You can do all kinds of fun stuff. You could fly, I bet. Jump off of this temple. After all, God's not going to let you get hurt, right? And Jesus says, even if it were possible for me to do that, remember later he walks through walls. Maybe he could fly, I don't know. But he's not going to put the Lord who's God to test. God said he'll do all these things for me. Okay, if you are God, prove it. Jesus says, that's not how we have faith. All right, then. What about this? I'll give you everything. Just one little thing you have to do. Tell me I'm cool. I'm okay. A little bow to me. Jesus said, no. Not only will I not bow down before you, I'll let you kill me before I bow down to you. Satan picks him up on it, and it backfires. We're given life by God to do all kinds of awesome things. When you think about it, when you look through this, the Ten Commandments and what happened in the Garden of Eden and the precepts of the church and all the prescriptions of what we're supposed to do and what we can't do, really take a hard look at that, an honest look at that, and see that God has given us the whole world. Not Satan, God. He's given us life and a world within which to live it. Sometimes things are difficult. I'll grant you that. Some lives are difficult. People seem to not get a break their entire life. Those are opportunities for us to work together, not to act in isolation. We're given everything we need, which is God's love. Everything else is extra. That's hard. Health, a place to live, food, clothing, a decent marriage, a job, no war, someone not abusing you. Yeah, I like those things too. Absolutely. When those things aren't in the right position, that hurts. But if we have God first, everything else falls into place. It doesn't make it all go away, doesn't make it easy, but it makes it doable. We don't shortchange ourselves by then taking up Satan on his offer. Just a little bit, I'll give you food. Just a little bit of letting me be God in your life, Satan says. I'll give you power, influence, friends. I'll fix everything for you. Just do it my way. That's attractive. After all, how bad can it be? Pretty bad. Or pretty good. When we follow God's law, we listen for his voice inviting us to try it again. You might not have felt really good about this last week or last month or last year. You think you're sliding down. But God says, let's try it again. I've got this. Trust me. Do you want the mountain or the top of the building or the bread